Today's video is sponsored by ZocDoc. It's a free app and website where you can choose from among 100,000 healthcare professionals here in the U.S. And yes, they do take insurance. Now, many of you have indicated a need for medical attention for a wide variety of mood disorders or family practice issues and much more beyond that. So with ZocDoc, you can find medical assistance and check actual appointment times and receive professional care. As the need arises, go to the link that we have below the video here and then proceed with confidence. Hey, Team Healthy. Glad to be here with you on another episode of Unbound. Keep in mind, this is the program that is driven by you and your questions. What I do is during the week, I go back and pick up on questions and comments that you all make, and then I do some copy and pasting here, and then I'm going to reflect back to you some of the things that you're showing some concerns about. And it's our way of saying we can break free as Team Healthy from the binding that the narcissist wants to put us under, but it takes a certain amount of awareness, doesn't it? Now, I've got two questions here today that I want to get into, and it's all about individuals who think to themselves, well, I think that what I'm bringing to the equation is pretty good. I want to be a compassionate and loving and kind person, but with the narcissist, it doesn't seem to impress what gives. All right, here's the first question. This person says, my greatest grief is that I see myself as a compassionate person, but I have two narcissists in my life who are so stunted they can't reciprocate. All they have to offer is criticism, defensiveness, and lots of anger. Why can't they see that they're creating and perpetuating their own misery, even as they point the finger of accusation toward me? Oh, and I'm sure that so many of you can say, yeah, I've had that experience too. And this can be very prominent, whether it's inside a marriage or a living situation with someone or with extended family members, siblings, or coworkers or people inside a social group. You can have the situation that says, I think that I'm creating good vibes here, but it doesn't seem to impress. With narcissists, you have a double combination that's lethal. And that's the double combination of low awareness and high rationalization. And they can rationalize just about anything. I want to go back and just pick up on some of the key things that this person says. First of all, I have two narcissists in my life who are so stunted. All right, pause right there. That's a good word to be using. We're dealing with people who are stunted in their psychological and emotional development. We've heard the term stunted development. They may be 38 years old, they may be 57 years old, but they're acting like, unruly little teenagers or junior high kids. Going on, all they seem to have to offer is criticism, defensiveness, and lots of anger. Now, let's just pause for a minute. If I were to say, let's come up with a list of characteristics that are part of an excellent way of doing relationships. And the kid in the back of the room says, oh, I know, I'd like to be a critical person and sign me up for defensiveness and I want to be angry a whole lot. Nobody would do that. Nobody would say that is the correct answer to the quiz. And yet, part of the byproduct of narcissism are these kind of ingredients: criticism, defensiveness, and anger. That's what I mean when I say low self-awareness. It's like they don't even realize, they don't even admit who I am and what I do really doesn't help matters. I need to stop that. This is a losing proposition. Then this person goes on to say, why can't they see that they're creating and perpetuating their own misery, even as they point the finger of accusation at me? And as long as they keep saying, well, you're the one who did this, they're illustrating that they absolutely refuse to take responsibility for themselves. Some of you have been around, most of you have been around grade school kids, and they get caught doing something that's inappropriate, and so you call them out on it, and the first thing a grade school kid typically does is they look for excuses. It wasn't me, it was Billy, or I didn't do it, this person did it to me, or the only reason I got mad is because you said the wrong things, and you expect that from a grade school child. And yet we go back to that word stunted. We're talking about people with stunted development. Built into the pattern of narcissism are characteristics that can't be rationalized very well, but they're extremely prominent. It's characteristics like their arrogance, their entitlement, or their low levels of empathy, or their high levels of personal neediness, because they're very needy for your deference. They're very needy for your admiration. So first, let's realize you bring compassion. That's a high level form of communication, but you're dealing with somebody who is underdeveloped. Let's take a look at our second question here that goes right along with it. This person says, I've been quietly quitting. Interesting way to put it. I've been quietly quitting the relationship for some time, and I'm no longer afraid that I'm the unstable one that I'm made out to be. I've grown much more accustomed to standing up for myself in the face of abusive tactics. I love my abusers. That's the compassionate part. And I know that some of you can say, well, I hate their guts, but some of you, it's like, I don't want to hate. I want to be loving and kind. That's where this person is. I love my abuser, but after 3 years of trying, I'm realizing I can only change my own patterns and behaviors. It doesn't feel good to learn that love and compassion are not enough to make someone change, and inevitably are only going to be used against me in the long run to foster additional supply. So we have someone else here that could say to the first questioner, me too. I've had it too. But many times when you have such an ongoing exposure to the first person, criticism, defensiveness, and lots of anger, and then the accusations that you're the problem, there comes a point where you realize, I can't stay on this merry-go-round. It's not working. It's not helping that person. It certainly isn't helping me. And so at some point, we have to ask, do I have the self-awareness within myself to say, I need to be true to me? Too many times people will hang in there with strongly narcissistic patterns with other individuals, and they forget, you've been assigned a role. You're playing along with something. Are you aware of what you're doing to harm yourself? For example, when the narcissist is abusive and harsh and has all that defensiveness and anger, are you playing along by arguing right back and yelling right back, or suppressing or deferring or just going into hiding? In doing so, what you're saying to the narcissist is, go ahead and keep doing it, and I'll just keep doing this, and we're just going to have one big mutually dysfunctional relationship. Or this second person, are we going to say, no, enough's enough. You've assigned me this role, and I'm not willing to just go along to get along. I'm not going to play the role of the troubled person anymore. And that can be hard when you start out like the first person and the second person by saying, I feel like I'm a loving and compassionate person, because it's uncomfortable when you have to say, this isn't working. I'm going to have to move on. Compassionate people want to make good. The reason they're that way is because they believe, rightly so, in the supremacy of love over harshness and meanness and hate and all the rest that comes along with narcissism. But what we are going to say is, if abuse or dysfunction or maladaptive behavior is all that person has to offer, there's a very low upside for me, or I'm having to eat a whole lot of my own self-respect in order to get along with that person. I think you have to ask yourself, why do I need to stick around and put up with something like this? I'm not going to be able to move the needle, even with a compassionate approach. And in fact, what I'm doing is I'm taking myself further and further down the path toward my own depression and futility and cynicism. I recall so well one woman when we were talking about some similar things like this, and she would fall under the category of the nicest person you ever met. And she was the kind of person who liked to bake cookies for people who had some sort of ailment, or just because she felt like it. But we were talking about moving away from some individuals in her family who were just impossible, and nothing she said or did ever pleased them. And her question was, do you mean it's okay for me to do that? And by saying that, she was implying, but I just felt like it's my duty to be kind and friendly and compassionate. And I'm thinking, it's not a duty. It's just who you are. embrace it. But if there are times when that other individual says, I'm going to take your goodness and work it against you and for me because you see, I'm a condescending, manipulative, abusive person. I feel power when I do that. Then I'm thinking, I'm not going to play that role. It's sad to say that narcissists can be attracted to compassionate people because compassionate people aren't into the power trips. They're not into control and dominance. And the narcissist is over there thinking, good, because I am. And that means I'm just going to win that game from day one. And I'm hoping you can remind yourself, relationships are not a game. The narcissist wants to turn it into that, but you're not required to take on the role of designated loser while they take the role of the designated dominant winner, and then they trample all over you. Have compassion. But keep in mind, it's going to start with you having compassion for yourself. And when someone comes along and says, I'm not going to treat you in a compassionate way, then I'm hoping you can remind yourself, I care enough about who I am and about the whole concept of goodness and love to not participate in that. I know it's hard, and yet at the same time, sometimes you have to make hard decisions as you go through your maturation process. Don't we all have to do that? Trust in yourself and then hold on to dignity, respect, and civility. That's what we stand for here on Team Healthy, starting with yourself. You're aware by now that one of my sponsors is ZocDoc. It's an app and website that gives you access to over 100,000 medical care providers. And so as the need is there for any issues regarding medication for psychiatric issues, mood disorders, family practice matters, and much more, just make sure that you avail yourself to their services as the need is there. Also on my website, survivingnarcissism.tv, we have lots of resources for you. I have my courses, and there are 25. Each course has at least 25 videos, and each video has guided questions and handouts. And then along with that, we also have access to my webinars, which are 90-minute PowerPoint presentations. Then in addition to that, we have my articles and books, so plenty of resources for you. I really appreciate it when you allow me to be a part of your journey in that way. We try to make ourselves as helpful as we can in offering you the resources that will be good for you. So thanks for your encouragement and support, and I will see you next time and on our next episode of Unbound. I'm really enjoying putting together this series.